Daria Albinger, ABC News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 37-year-old Hiram man has been arrested for allegedly downloading child pornography. Isaac Matthew Rolfe was booked Tuesday into the Cache County Jail after law enforcement served a warrant to his home and seized several electronic devices. According to an arrest report, Logan City police officers received a cyber tip in August from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It alleged how an individual was using a chat program to share child pornography with other users. Detectives reviewed the files and found 4 videos which depicted adolescent females in various stages of undress, sexual activity, and other pornographic states. The material had been reportedly sent by the suspect on or around May 28th of this year. Police were able to identify Rolfe as the suspect after tracking the user ID and IP address to his Hiram residence. On Tuesday, officers went to Rolfe's home and seized a laptop and desktop computer. Police conducted an initial search of the laptop. They located an encrypted folder that appeared to contain additional child pornography, but Rolfe would not provide the password to access the folder. Officers also located several files on the desktop computer depicting minor girls in various stages of undress and sexual activity. Many appeared to range in age from 13 to 15 years old. A portion of the PC's hard drive had also been encrypted. Rolfe was arraigned Wednesday afternoon in First District Court. He was charged with 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony. KVNU News Time is 4:07. KVNU weather for tonight. Becoming mostly clear later on tonight. The low temperature around 10, and then mostly sunny tomorrow. High temperature in the low 30s. Mostly cloudy and mid-30s on Saturday. We've been in the 30s today. Right now it's 31 degrees at KVNU. KVNU weather is brought to you by Top Job Asphalt. They specialize in asphalt paving and maintenance as well as concrete installation and repair. Trusted in Cache Valley for over 15 years. Top Job works hard to ensure the job is being done by the most knowledgeable and skilled in the industry.
You'll love the holiday specials and big selection when you shop at U&I Furniture. Got guests coming? How about their best-selling mattress, a Therapeutic Serene featuring a zone coil system, comfy stretch knit top, only $399 for the queen size. For Christmas, a TV? How about 50 different console choices from small to large with or without fireplaces? And over 200 chairs on display, including the best in recliners. They offer free layaway and prices you'll love. A local standard when it comes to furniture. There's always a better buy at U&I Furniture, U&I Downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. The early snow that northern Utah has received is bringing with it early skiing as well. Several of Utah's ski resorts either pushed up their opening weekends or announced an opening date earlier than scheduled after multiple snowstorms left feet of powder in the mountains. So what's open now is Bryan Head Resorts in Iron County. Resorts that open later this month include Solitude, which is scheduled to open today, Brighton Ski Resort, scheduled to open tomorrow, Park City Mountain Resorts on November 18th, Snow Basin Resort November 25th, and Snowbird on November 30th. As far as some of the resorts where the opening day is not yet determined, those include Beaver Mountain and Cherry Peak Resort. And the Supreme Court appears likely to leave in place most of a federal law that gives preference to Native American families in foster care and adoption proceedings of Native children. The justices heard more than 3 hours of arguments in a broad challenge to the Indian Child Welfare Act enacted in 1978 to address concerns that Native children were being separated from their families and too frequently placed in non-Native homes. It has long been championed by tribal leaders as a means of preserving their families, traditions, and cultures, but white families seeking to adopt Native children are among the challengers who say the law is impermissibly based on race and also prevents states from considering those children's best interests. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Covering the news that affects your life. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, and online at 610kvnu.com.
Not sure what to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Does the thought of that mess turn you off? Then call the Beehive Pub and Grill. They have an amazing family-style Thanksgiving meal ready to go. Just order by Friday, November 18th by 5 p.m. Pick up on November 23rd between noon and 6. Heat and serve. That's it. A full Thanksgiving meal with all the normal fix-ins without the hassle. Prices will vary. Order for 2 or get meals for 6. Call for details. Beehive Pub and Grill, Logan.
You're in the market to buy a home and dreaming of a new home you can fill with new memories. But homes just aren't in your budget. Or are they? Visionary Homes wants you to know you don't have to buy a used home. Buy new. Buy now with Visionary Homes. As a trusted award-winning Utah home builder, Visionary Homes understands that your home is the center of your life, bringing friends and family together, creating memories you'll cherish forever. Buy new. Buy now. VisionaryHomes.com.
Visionary Homes.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Thursday, November 10th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Our good friend Diane Weiss joining us in hour 2 of today's show to talk about this year's American Mothers Conference. American Mothers are part of their 33rd annual family conference, bringing the theme of overcoming to their conference this year, embracing interruptions. It starts November 15th. Diane will be with us later on in the show today. We've also got a cool story about a medical breakthrough that it literally going to change the game when it comes to genetic disorders and childbirth, if they're able to do it again. Why that matters. We'll talk about it and how the University of Utah and USU research was actually a part of this. That's coming up in hour 2 as well. Right now, it is Thursday. It is 4 o'clock. That means it's time for our weekly theater hour with our good friend Charlie Schill here in the studio. You can read Charlie's work every day at CashValleyDaily.com. News stories, theater reviews, and more. But he joins us here in the studio every Thursday. And Charlie, good to see you. Thank you for taking the time. What have you been up to? I see you over there highlighting what appears to be a lengthy list of thoughts and events and observations and everything in between.
No, there's one thing I wanted to talk about, since everything else is pretty much
kind of a bye week, right?
Yeah, we're a bye week. In the election coverage this week, Proposition 2, the RAPZ tax, passed.
And not by a small margin.
No, 19,000 votes.
It was a resounding yes.
Yes.
From the majority of Cache Valley, and I'm excited about that. So this is now the 3rd time, right, that this has been renewed by voters?
Yeah.
I think that's very cool. It's
what did I say? 19,000, about 10,000 votes.
Okay,
but still, I mean, that's a third. That's a third of the voter turnout.
Yeah, it was a 20-something margin.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much closer on the Open Space Initiative, but still passed.
Well, the Open Space Initiative only passed by about 2,000 votes.
Yeah. It was a close one. I'm excited to see where that one goes. But I know one of your concerns as a fan of the arts and theater was that having both on the ballot as well as the constitutional amendment question, which thankfully voters shot down. We'll talk about that another day. But you were concerned that this would be too much on the ballot, and people, because this happens sometimes, people look at all this and go, too much, and they just know everything.
That's true. And it wasn't just me who was concerned. Our good friend Wendy Hassan was on pins and needles until this happened. Until the RAPZ tax was confirmed. Renewed.
Wendy joined us Friday, very very last minute. She and I were texting about making something happen on Monday, and then this spot opened up on Friday, and she called and she reminded me of something when it comes to the RAPZ tax, because we were talking about arts. We were talking about how it helps her program, how it helps other programs, what Cache Valley might look like without it, all of that. And then Wendy just starts listing parks in the valley, public restrooms that have been built with the money, parks that have been poorly lit that are now well lit. And she had this long list. She
was prepared.
She's knowledgeable. She knows how the RAPZ program has been used over the years,
sure,
and that impressed me.
Sure she does.
Even stuff that doesn't benefit the arts directly, but because oftentimes it is easy to forget the R stands for recreation in RAPZ, because those are oftentimes less noticeable improvements and things like that are made to parks and trails.
There's a bias on the part of the county council, and they're going to be pissed about the fact that I say this, but there's a bias on the part of the county council to use that money for things that everybody in the county uses.
Sure.
Parks, trails, that sort of thing. And
the arts have to fight a little harder before that committee, right?
And they're not really terribly arts oriented.
Yeah. In fact, at times we've had RAPZ committee members that were opposed.
Kent Ward is very arts oriented, but he's about the only one you could actually say that about.
I think that also speaks to the health of the way this is designed, because despite that, a lot of very cool art things have been funded over the years.
Sure.
But you're right. I mean, you don't have to be a political scientist to look at what's been funded and see that it's going more towards trails and parks.
Yeah, and I these people owe their allegiance to the voters.
Yeah.
And they feel an obligation to, I want to create things, trails, parks, blah, 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 that everybody in the county can use.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's what they ought to be doing.
Sure. I think that's proper use of the funds.
Art needs to get its slice of the pie, but
sure.
We've talked about, Gina Worth had mentioned one time she wanted a grant, another $100,000 or something for
for the pumpkin walk.
The pumpkin walk, yes, and she said, well, 25,000 people go to the pumpkin walk, and we should give them extra money. Yeah, but the people who go to the pumpkin walk are locals.
Yeah,
they're not.
And they're not staying in hotels.
They're not bringing in $35 million a year like the people who go to the Festival Opera do.
I would wager confidently that no more than 2 people booked a hotel room because of the pumpkin walk, and those 2 people did so probably for the grandkids. It's you have to look at that larger scope to I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but here's something I think that should be explored about the pumpkin walk.
Let's go. Let's all get in trouble.
Why not? I've thought this for years. And this is not to say I don't appreciate the pumpkin walk, and it's not to disparage anyone who finds it important. I get this is a very popular annual tradition. Why is it so expensive? I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying this is something that has a hefty price tag, and maybe it could be done more cheaply and with the same quality. But I'll leave it there until someone calls and yells at me. Speaking of that, I don't think he's calling to yell, but we do have a caller on the line, Charlie. Gary wants to weigh in on the voters approving the renewing the RAPZ tax program for the third decade now. It'll go on for another 10 years before this is on the ballot again. Gary, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you'd like me to yell, I will, but I wasn't planning on it.
Oh, please do. No, it's okay.
No. Hey, the only problem I have, I love the arts. I go to the theater whenever I can, the musicals and stuff like that, and I love that, and I don't want it to ever end. The problem I have with it is the way the rep tax is collected. It's what is it, the restaurant tax, the hotel tax, and when they first started the RAPZ tax, they talked about it being, letting the people that come in from out of town pay for this thing.
Well,
and I understand that because there is a lot of people that come into town, but there's also a lot of people that live here that go to the restaurants, that go to hotels to get away from their family, whatever.
Sure.
And
more so with restaurants than hotels, I would guess.
Yeah, but there is, I would say 80%, if not 90% of Cache Valley people use all the restaurants in town compared to the people that come from out of town, 80%, 70%. So why don't we just do a 0.25% tax on our sales tax, something like that? I don't know what they do, but I'm sure, why are we attacking and just putting it all on the back of the people that own the restaurants and own the hotels and stuff like that?
Gary,
that's a good question.
The
Gary.
RAPZ tax is 0.1%, and it's a sales tax. It's across the board.
So everyone's.
But it's teeny. Yeah. But it's tiny. It's intended so you're not going to feel it.
Well, and also I think this is worth pointing out. This program, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't draw a lot of people from outside of Cache Valley in, especially in the summertime, you would see that because suddenly the funds wouldn't be there. So it would become sort of a downward spiral where the RAPZ committee is going to be going into the next year going, we don't have anything to spend this year.
And
that's obviously not been the case, right?
That's the deal with this tax. It's a sales tax. Everybody pays it. That's why the county council and the committee feels obligated to give back to things that everybody uses, rather than just the arts. It seems to me that don't say this. If you're going to look at the restaurant tax, and you're going to look at the hotel tax, and you're going to look at the hotel tax and the restaurant tax might be a little questionable.
Yeah, that would be tougher, huh?
Yeah, but they don't have to be renewed like the restaurant tax. I like the RAPZ tax.
I see where Gary's coming from on this. I think, Gary, the only point I would make, or issue I would take rather, with your the way you describe things is, I would guess, and I haven't seen data from our good friend Julie Hollis-Terrell. Maybe we'll reach out to her for a couple of years. But the last time I did see this massive report she does on tourism, I would say that it definitely is not the majority of this money. The majority of it is not coming from residents. The majority of what ends up in that RAPZ program fund is coming from out-of-towners coming to Cache Valley. Again, that was 2 years ago But when you look at this, as you mentioned, it's this tiny percentage on the sales tax. But when you look at dollar amount spent, because there's a percentage of the total amount spent. So when you're talking hotel rooms, you're talking a lot more than a night out for a family that lives here in Cache Valley that's going into that fund.
Sure.
And again, Gary, that data was 2 years old when 2 years ago that I last saw that. But it was not even close. Not to say that locals aren't contributing, we are. But the majority of the money was coming from those who, especially those who came from out of town and stayed in a hotel. That's where most of the RAPS money came from. Yeah. So, but it's a great question, Gary, and this is why I think it's important that, and they have been, but it's important that the RAPS committee is so transparent about both where the money comes from and where it's going, because you can actually go see every single expenditure, and not eventually, as it happens usually. Mm-hmm. You can also, you can attend the committees, and that's one of my favorite things about this, because to Gary's point, this is our money. Even if it's being collected from out-of-towners, a majority of it is money that could go to other things here in Cache Valley. So we need to make sure that it's being used wisely, and I think the RAPS committee has done a great job so far of doing exactly that.
Agreed.
And obviously, the majority of voters agree, too. So, Gary, appreciate the call. Others out there with thoughts, give us a call, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Gene Needham is in Antwerp, Belgium today. Tell us why Antwerp is considered the diamond capital of the world.
For more than 400 years, Antwerp, Belgium has been the capital of diamond cutting. More diamonds come through Antwerp, Belgium than any other location on the globe. Diamonds are not actually mined there, but they're cut there. So mined in different countries, and then they come through Antwerp, Belgium. Of course, while I'm here, I'm actually hand-selecting diamonds to bring back to Logan. What's interesting is the secured streets and the private offices where I meet. I've got long-standing relationships with these people here in Antwerp and have done now for 20 years. It's been a long and good experience in terms of my commitment to Antwerp, Belgium. But we come here regularly in order to find the best values to bring back to Logan. To us, that's why Antwerp, Belgium is the diamond capital of the world.
Thank you for the insights, Gene. Enjoy your time in Antwerp. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient, not the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. We had a great call from Gary highlighting, giving us a chance to talk about some important aspects of the RAPS program that was just renewed by voters here in Cache Valley. And Gary, I appreciate that call. Others out there, if you'd like to weigh in or react, let us know, 753-5868. The final breakdown after new numbers were released just today, actually, about half an hour ago by the county clerk's office. So right now, RAPS was approved by about 68, rounding down and up, depending on the point of the percentage. So it was about 68 to 32 for renewing the RAPS. And I'd said roughly 60. That's
a 2-to-1 margin,
yeah,
basically.
That's where Democrats come in, the no side. Those who didn't want to renew this, there were enough of them to account for a percentage in the final vote that is roughly where Democrats come in races here in Cache Valley. It's usually a 65.
You are about to get in trouble, okay?
It's a 65-35 split for the Democratic candidates usually, at best. and this was a 68-32. I stand by my comparison.
I promise you that's not valid.
I would guess that Democrats were, despite not having as many candidates to vote for in a lot of uncontested races here, I would guess Democrats were probably big on this one. But I'm so excited to see it be such a large margin. Because I think it sends a message that this is people understand the RAPZ program despite its complexities, and they like it. They've seen a return on it, and they see it as a great way to fund some of these. Someone told me once. Someone said, "Look, there's a million ways." It was when the RAPZ money had been used to rebuild and renovate a public restroom at a park somewhere out the edges of the county, and someone said we could do that without this program. We could we could find private donors. Technically on something like that you could, but that's one tiny little part of what the RAPZ money is used for each year. And
I'm just glad we don't have to sweat this thing for another 10 years.
Yeah,
I'll be dead by the time it comes up again.
Well, and I think I don't believe that. You'll still be here in the studio with me every Thursday getting in trouble.
If somebody doesn't shoot me.
It does beg the question, and maybe this should never happen, but someone else threw this out. Third time around with obvious, huge public support. Is it time to stop having to renew this? Should this just become an official part of the county budget?
I don't think so.
I like the renewal.
Yeah, I do. Because it lets people buy in again.
Yeah. And I like that it's not every 2 years or something ridiculous like that.
That'd be ridiculous.
It would be a mess. So I like that every 10 years, because things might change. We might see a shift in some way that, 10 years from now, people might decide, well, this program isn't necessary or not helping as much as it once did, and you could do away with it and start something different. But it's working right now, and like I say, 68-32, I liked seeing that. So almost as much as I like the fact that Cache Valley also, to a similar margin, shot down the constitutional amendment lawmakers wanted. We'll do that on another day. But say no to power consolidation. That's my message here on the show.
That one was pretty arcane.
Yeah,
frankly.
And the tough thing is it might have been a good idea, even. I don't know. But a third time around, the legislature had wanted a constitutional amendment to give them more power. So I'm happy to see that go down. But did you see Ben Winslow at Fox 13 pointed this out? I know we're getting way away from theater here, but I thought this was funny. One county in Utah approved the constitutional amendment. 1 of 29. Beaver. No one knows why. There's absolutely no explanation for this at all. Beaver County was the only county in the state to say, sure, you can have more power.
And right now, people from the legislature are trying to figure out how they did that in Beaver.
We need to repeat that everywhere.
Repeat that, yes. Who did that?
Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley, specifically talking about the results of the election where the RAPZ program was renewed for another 10 years, 68-32 in support of renewing that for another 10 years here in Cache Valley. If you'd like to weigh in, react to this or anything, 753-5868. On the other side, as Charlie mentioned, we're kind of in a bye week as far as new things opening, things like that. Pickville doing a big giveaway, offering 4 tickets to their Christmas show. If you do jump through some hoops on Instagram, there is still a lot going on, even though we have no new openings to really discuss. And we'll get back to it right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by Logan Extermination. A 22-year-old West Jordan man has been sentenced for his part in a burglary and fraud case in Logan. Austin Giles has been in the Cache County Jail since being arrested in August. According to court clerks, Giles was sentenced Wednesday morning In First District Court, he had previously accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to felonies of unlawful use of a financial card, possession of a firearm by a restricted person, possession of a controlled substance, forgery, and mail theft. Giles and Galaxy Workman, a 19-year-old Cottonwood Heights woman, broke into a Logan woman's vehicle on August 5th, stealing her purse. Logan City police officers were able to locate camera footage of the burglary. The video showed a white Dodge Charger arriving at the incident address. A female matching Workman's description exited the car, opened the victim's vehicle, and took the purse. Additional videos were located from a local store. It showed both Workman and Giles using the stolen cards to make fraudulent purchases. Officers later located the defendant's vehicle parked outside a local mobile home. Workman and Giles admitted to using the victim's cards and disposing of the stolen merchandise. Police also located methamphetamine, marijuana, prescription medication, a handgun, drug paraphernalia, and a scale. A teenage girl is in critical condition after being hit while in a crosswalk by an SUV in Centerville Wednesday morning. The incident happened in the area of 2025 North Main Street shortly before 11:30 a.m. Police said the 16-year-old was using the crosswalk while heading eastbound when she was hit by a 2017 Toyota Highlander traveling south on Main Street. The teen was thrown between 60 to 80 feet and knocked unconscious. Police said the unidentified teen was originally supposed to be airlifted to the hospital, but paramedics decided to load her into an ambulance and transport her to the Intermountain Healthcare Trauma Facility in Murray. The girl suffered multiple head and torso injuries and is now in critical condition. The 82-year-old female driver of the SUV stayed at the scene after the crash and is cooperating with police. Although the road was wet at the time of the accident, it was clear of snow and visibility was good, according to the Centerville Police Department. And Lauri Markkanen scored a season-high 32 points, and the Utah Jazz recovered after blowing a 15-point lead to beat the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta, 125-119. Jordan Clarkson had 23 points, his fifth straight game with at least 20 for the Western Conference leading Jazz. KBNU News Time is 4:36.
Even though the weather's grown colder, you still have time to have your fruit trees pruned. Logan Extermination says your trees need to be trimmed back in order to achieve success next year. And this is the first step to a bountiful harvest. However, you could do more bad than good if you don't know what you're doing. Save the headache and call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Prices will vary depending on your needs. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy this evening, then clearing, colder, down around 10 degrees overnight. Sunny into the lower 30s on Veterans Day. Partly cloudy, low 5 to 10 above Friday night, Saturday morning, and then mostly cloudy on Saturday, mid-30s for the high. It's been to 34. It's 31 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Bring back the sounds you've been missing. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Ted Karen with Edward Jones Investments in Smithfield, bringing you the daily financial market report for Thursday, November 10th. Markets were up sharply on Thursday after the October Consumer Price Index came in lower than expected. The Fed has been looking for clear and convincing evidence that inflation is moving lower before slowing its aggressive tightening cycle. The report on Thursday showed inflation is still well above the Fed's long-term 2% target, but it's a step in the right direction. Thursday's rally suggests a lot of bad news around inflation and the economy is already priced in, and further moves to the downside in inflation could result in a more sustained rally. In markets on Thursday, the Dow closed up 1,201 points, 3.7%, to close at 33,715. The S&P 500 closed up 5.5%, and the NASDAQ up 7.33%, the largest percentage gains in one day since spring of 2020. In the bond market, prices were up as 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.82%, lower by 1/3%. Oil was up 0.5% to $86.30 a barrel. Gold was up $43, or 2.5%, to $1,757 an ounce. We think markets will start to recover permanently once central banks become less hawkish and pause aggressive tightening cycles. Investors can use this market downturn in stocks and bonds to add quality investments at attractive prices to their portfolios, in our view. If future inflation reports show a similar slowing in inflationary levels, we think the Fed will start to pause rate hikes or even cut rates, depending on economic growth and the labor market. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you by Edward Jones and Ted Karen, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention on financial advice. If you'd like additional information, please contact any of the 9 advisors in Cache Valley, in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield.
The Elements Restaurant is serving a plated Thanksgiving dinner this year with all the holiday classics. Herb roasted turkey with a sage turkey gravy, garlic whipped potatoes and whipped sweet potatoes, traditional cornbread stuffing, and delicious warm rolls. And for dessert, choose between pumpkin pie, pecan pie, or apple galette. Let the Elements serve your family a delicious Thanksgiving feast while you spend the day enjoying family and friends. Prime times fill up quickly. Reserve online today at theelementsrestaurant.com or call 750-5171.
Happy holidays from Birch Creek Golf Course and Off-Premise Catering. For your company or business Christmas party, I invite you to choose Birch Creek's beautiful banquet room to host your Christmas party. Our banquet room can hold 150 guests with great parking and a beautiful view of Cache Valley. So when thinking company or business Christmas party, I invite you to choose Birch Creek and Off-Premise Catering. Call Birch Creek today at 563-6825 for information. And happy holidays from your friends at Birch Creek and Off-Premise Catering.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Saturday at 11 a.m., and I'll tell you where to go and how to get there with the best travel deals on the planet, including how to travel more and pay less, free this and free that promotions, and insider secrets on what the airlines, cruise lines, and hotels don't want you to know, along with your call-in travel questions every Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 610 KVNU.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. We've teamed up with Ridgeline High School Booster Club to bring you the mattress warehouse sale of the year. November 11th and 12th at Ridgeline High School. My Mattress, Maloof, and Serenoni will have truckloads of mattresses, mattress protectors, sheets, pillows, accessories, Serenoni blankets, and more at blowout, rock-bottom prices. Don't miss this chance for blowout pricing from My Mattress, Maloof, and Serenoni. November 11th and 12th at the Ridgeline High School Mattress Warehouse Sale.
Unused prescription opioid pain medicines can spell trouble. They can spell risk if taken by someone they weren't prescribed for, harm if accidentally taken by a child or pet, or overdose if they're not used as directed. Safely dispose of opioids before they can hurt your family. Find a drug take-back option such as medicine drop boxes. You may find these in your community at local pharmacies or police stations. Visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
You saved my life. You held my hand when I was scared. You helped me say goodbye to my dad. You were an example for me. You gave me strength when I thought I had none left. I couldn't tell you then, but I want to say thank you, all of you, for everything. Thank you to the physicians, nurses, and others working in America's hospitals and health systems. A message from the American Hospital Association, American Medical Association, and American Nurses Association.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley. As Charlie mentioned, it is a bit of a bye week, not a lot new to talk about, some ongoing stuff and some upcoming stuff and some announcements, etc. Again, if you'd like to join us to react to the renewal of the RAPZ program, resounding success in the victory margin there for that program, 68 to 32 is the percentage breakdown on the renewal. So another 10 years of funding for recreation, arts, parks, and zoos. If you want to react, 753-5868. Great call from Gary there before the news. Appreciate that, Gary. And time for others out there as well. And I never do these, Charlie, because I don't care to use my personal social media platforms to help others advertise. But Pickville giving away a very cool-looking Stanley mug. And I tell you, nothing will get me very close to joining a giveaway like a Stanley mug. I don't know. And I don't need another one. But, yeah, Pickville also giving away 4 tickets to their upcoming Christmas show. And you have to jump through some hoops on Instagram. You have to like it, share it, tag some people, something like that. Every tag is an entry. And the reason I bring this up, though, is they're getting creative in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
including their own self-promotion.
Well, yeah, and they do trailers and all kinds of stuff to advertise those programs, and they're very successful at it, and they're very professional at it.
Yeah, and the reason it stands out to me is this is the one criticism I've had of some of our longest running production companies that do. And we talk a lot about, some of the reputations. The Four Seasons has a reputation. If their name's on it, it's not going to be bad. It might not be your thing, but it's not going to be bad. And others, the Cash Theater Company as well. Anything Wendy Hassan puts her name on is going to be a ticket seller. But at the same time, other than Wendy, sometimes they're not great at self-promotion. And I think a lot of people in the Valley are like me, where if you don't take the initiative, you miss a lot of things.
Well, a lot of the companies, like Festival Opera, they're relying on bringing in an audience, and you can't do that with social media. You need brochures.
Oh, sure.
And you need things in people's faces. Okay,
yeah.
That's just all there is to it.
Festival Opera, for example, spends a lot of advertising at the Shakespeare Festival in southern Utah, which at first I thought, why would you? And then it clicked. I'm like, oh, I get it. If someone traveled that far for Shakespeare.
The funny thing is, I was at in the Thatcher Mansion the other day, or not the other day, last year, during an intermission, and I met a charming little old lady from New Jersey, for God's sake.
Oh, really?
And
now that's cool.
She's here for the Festival Opera, and she's seeing all the shows and going to everything, all the extras and all that other kind of stuff. And I mentioned that
very cool.
That I was in the past. I used to, when I was living in Japan, we used to come here in the summer to go to the Shakespeare Festival.
That still amazes me.
And she said, "What?" I said, "The Shakespeare Festival." "What Shakespeare Festival?"
Oh, really?
No idea that the Shakespeare Festival even existed. And maybe we need to keep that a secret, so that
now that is the other side of it.
So that our snowbirds, our summer citizens don't drift off somewhere.
That's actually, and I think there is something to be said too about. If you had these theater companies marketing themselves better, because it's not like they're struggling to fill seats. I mean, I'm sure every theater company would say they'd like a few more shows to be more packed, but it's not like you've ever got a show that Four Seasons, again, as an example, they don't have a show where they have the cast coming out on stage to 2 people in the audience. That never happens.
Never happened.
And so maybe they don't need to or don't feel like they need to, and maybe actually promoting themselves would cause locals to turn away because it's too hard to get in. So I see there's balance and a need estimate that goes on here, but I do like to see Pickville, what they're doing, and to see maybe Pickleville's raising the bar a little bit on getting word out. And yeah, to me, it's a fun thing to watch.
Well,
they've got some energy.
People, we just had a technician in here talking about the ski swap being done by social media.
Yeah.
People's taste, people's way of accessing information are changing. That's all there is to it. And
you have to assume if someone's a theater fan, they've maybe taken the time to follow for example, the Facebook page or Instagram account of a theater company, maybe. So I get that, and that's what I've done. That's how I stay up on this stuff, and that's why I miss a lot of the stuff the high schools do, because a lot of times they're very hard to find online.
Don't mention the high schools, please.
That's the promotion there. At times is a disservice to the kids.
Last Thursday, I went out of here and drove to Green Canyon High School and watched War of the Worlds. Which confirmed my belief that I got no business being at those kind of shows.
I was intrigued by that idea. And then I kind of, after our show wrapped, and I thought, I'm going to make it out to that before it wraps. And then I got thinking, I don't know if that's one I want to see at that skill level.
It's an intriguing idea. Let's take a recreation of that 1938 broadcast by the Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater of the Air and put it on stage and let people watch it so they could see how it all happens. I'll give you that they had a young man named Ted Muir who was playing Orson Welles.
Oh.
And boy, he's good.
Really?
Yeah. He does this final soliloquy where the Martian machines are coming up out of the East River to attack Manhattan, and as they're doing that, all of a sudden the machines start to keel over because the Martians are dying from little microbes in their blood. Blah 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 blah. And, that was the Deus Ex Machina of H.G. Wells' original story, that the Martians were invincible, except that they all caught a cold and died.
Yeah, which no one knew for a long time in the story, right?
Yeah. This was much more compressed, so that they all died within a single broadcast.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of the kids were just reading. Muir actually had the hush in his voice, and blah,
oh, really?
Blah. It's like see,
now that's fun.
It's like, you heard that the broadcast of the guy who goes, "Oh, the humanity," as the Graf Spee or the Hindenburg.
That's right.
Catches fire.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that Muir has in his voice, and he's really good.
That's very cool.
He's worth watching, but it just didn't work.
That's the risk at that age level and that skill level, is that you have. I mean, you see a lot of talent at high school productions, and certain productions lend themselves to highlighting that. Others kind of expose the opposite.
And
right?
that's one of the problems here, is that there was just you don't have a characterization to get into in a thing like this. It's 5 seconds on the radio, and then somebody else takes it, and then somebody else takes it, and it's
that's tough.
It's tough. It's really tough. I don't want to have to write about that after I see something like that.
I think that's where I'm at on stuff like that. I'd rather not have to. Yeah, because at that age you don't want to burst any bubbles
No. If the kids are learning about theater as they're doing this something, they'll learn. They're staged right and they're staged left and blah 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 blah.
That's the whole point, right?
At least they're not looking at a screen on their phone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. They're devoting time and learning and trying to do something. And and we shouldn't squash that. And believe me, I'd have squashed it. I
think that's very cool to get the opportunity.
Sure.
But then at the same time, like you said, someone expressed it to me this way, and I've always thought this was great. They said, when you go to high school theater, you have to know you're going to high school.
You have
theater.
to lower your expectations, of course.
Because they're just starting out.
The problem is that we're so used to having good theater here. Cash Theater Company, Four Seasons, and Music Theater West. They're all, at best, they're semi-pros. In some cases, they're amateurs. And boy, they get good shows. And I'm used to walking into Skyview and sitting down and watching the Four Seasons, and they do a bang-up job.
Yeah.
And I walk in there. I walk into Green Canyon High School, and
it can be.
Yeah,
it can be really hit or miss.
Yeah, it's it's a problem. but bully for them. They tried hard.
That's very cool, and I like that they took this one on, even though this is probably a little much for that.
Well, see, back in 2020, I think they did this thing as a radio broadcast that was aired on UPN, and that probably worked.
Sure. That one was fun to listen to. I remember that one. I'm partial to old timey radio shows like that.
Yeah, sure, everybody is.
They're fun to listen to, and I do hope that more schools start experimenting with this type of thing in general, just because it'd be fun to see where they go. And speaking of high schools, I've linked to some of the productions coming up for the various schools in the Valley. Every school has something going on, but the nearest is Mountain Crest with Once Upon an Island, I think it's called, November 17th.
I don't know how they're doing that.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Just from what little I know about the play and the.
As I recall, it was done in the late 50s with an all-black cast.
Yeah, it's a Pacific Island where this is set and where all the action takes place.
Well, I don't know if it's Pacific. I think it might have been in Caribbean.
Caribbean. So yeah, it would be interesting to see. We'll know soon, November 17th. Another school also taking on Tim Rice and Elton John's, the school version of Tim Rice and Elton John's Aida. I'm curious about that, too. That's a lofty...
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Festival Opera is doing two different versions of Aida this summer.
Oh, really?
They're doing... what you'll do is you walk in one night and you'll see a cast doing the opera, and the next night you'll see the same cast doing Tim Rice and Elton John's version of Aida.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Well, something to look forward to there on all fronts. Charlie, always a pleasure to have you here in the studio, and you can read Charlie's work again each and every day at CashValleyDaily.com. News stories, theater reviews, and more. He'll be back with us next Thursday at 4 On the other side, Diane Weiss joins us to talk about this year's American Mothers Conference. This year with the theme of overcoming, embracing interruptions. It's coming up November 15th, but Diane is with us today in hour 2 of today's show right after this.
Dr. Josh Redd, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today. Visit phassociation.org to help provide hope for children with PH. The Pulmonary Hypertension Association, empowered by hope.
Miss a minute? You're missing a lot. Breaking news, stimulating talk, News Talk, KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.